Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV. I'm Gargi Raut, and what a fantastic morning it's been for India at the Oscars at the 95th Academy Awards with two massive wins. Naatu Naatu from SS Rajamouli's RRR won Best Original Song, and Kartiki Gonzalez's The Elephant Whisperers won the Best Documentary Short Subject. There was a third nominee as well that we were all looking for, Shaunak Sen's All That Breathes, but that missed out on the Oscar for Best Documentary Feature Film. However, just the fact that it was nominated is quite tremendous. We also had actor Deepika Padukone at the Oscars, and she was a presenter there, the only third Indian to be a presenter at the Oscars after Persis Khambata and Priyanka Chopra. Deepika Padukone, in fact, introduced the performance of Naatu Naatu at the Oscars, and she said, if you don't know Naatu, you will know now. And that was an electrifying performance on the Oscars stage that saw the audiences also, enjoying that, and it brought them to their feet in a standing ovation. And shortly after that, then the announcement of the Oscar for Naatu Naatu. If we quote the New York Times, the way it described it, New York Times said, Naatu Naatu, the rollicking dance hit from Indian blockbuster RRR, won the Oscar for Best Original Song, beating out two songs featuring American pop megastars. Because remember, Lady Gaga and Rihanna both were also nominated in this category, but Naatu Naatu beating them out to win the Oscar for Best Original Song. So it's been, an amazing morning for India, amazing day for India at the Oscars. We have Gandhara Prathama of The Voice of America joining us from the US. And Gandhara, it's been quite an amazing day for India at the Oscars. And Naatu Naatu, that song that has gone viral even in the US, winning the Oscar.
Yes, it's a fantastic result. And honestly, it's been the favorite of this year's Best Original Music in the Oscars, especially because it won the Golden Globe as well as the Critics' Choice Award. And the performance of Naatu Naatu on stage was just spectacular. I don't know how else to describe it. Everybody seemed to love it. Everybody was bobbing their heads. And towards the end of the performance, everybody stood up, gave it a standing ovation. A very well-deserved win, as well as a very amazing performance by singer Rahul Sapligan and his partner.
Been a great day. We are also Naatu Naatu, but earlier, as we spoke to you, also for The Elephant Whisperers winning an Oscar in that documentary category. So that's been quite tremendous as well, in a small film made by two women, and to go on and win the Oscar.
Yes, and it beats out other two notable documentaries, which is A Stranger at the Gate and How Do You Measure a Year, which is two great documentaries, but Elephant Whisperer takes the trophy this time. And if you don't know, The Elephant Whisperer is about Bowman and Belly, who runs a 140-year-old camp called Camp Tepakadu, as they raise baby elephants who stray too far from their family. And interestingly enough, this is the only movie in that category that focuses on wildlife conservatory. So honestly, a great win. However, the other Indian film, All That Breathe, lost the nomination for his category. However, it does face tight competition from Fire of Love, as well as the favorite in Navalny, about Russian political figure who got attempted assassinated but survived the attempt.
Right. Well, coming back now to RRR, tell us a bit about the success and how popular this song has become. It's also thanks to social media, thanks to TikTok. A lot of people perform this song and, put out reels out there. So that has led to, the success and the popularity of the song and the film.
Yes, honestly, it should have been, a part of the Best Picture category, according to a lot of experts. And this movie has raked in over $150 million, which is a lot of money from everyone in the world. It was directed by SS Rajamouli, and the composer of the song Naatu Naatu was MM Keeravaani, who happens to be the cousin of SS Rajamouli, so a very talented family. And even though it faces heavy competition, like we mentioned, from Rihanna and Lady Gaga, it still won Naatu Naatu, that is. And the last time an Indian artist actually won Best Music was back in 2009, when composer A.R. Rahman wrote the song Jai Ho for the Slumdog Millionaire, which won Best Picture. Now, as you mentioned, this song became a viral sensation in the social media world, as the internet is heavily inspired by the dance. they're danced by the stars Ram Charan as well as N.T. Ramarao, the two stars of the movie. And the netizens try to recreate their own versions of it. And it's been, everybody seems to love it, including Hollywood directors. James Cameron, James Gunn, as well as Edgar Wright said that they hope that this song will win, and it did, in fact, win. So honestly, this could only be great for India, and I hope there will be more Indian movies that will be more successful in the Oscars as well as every other Guild Awards.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for joining us from the US there. So a great day for India at the Oscars. Two Oscars have been won. One, as we said, by the Elephant Whisperers, winning in the short documentary category, and RRR winning for the best original song. They're beating out Lady Gaga and Rihanna. So that's been absolutely tremendous. We've been talking about the success of RRR in the United States and how it's, the team also went there to promote the movie as well as the song, and a lot of lobbying also went into it. But the performance that took place at the Oscars a short while ago, we saw it was an electrifying performance, really bringing the audience to their feet with a standing ovation. The song was introduced there by Deepika Padukone, so that also was the Indian element at the Oscars, to have Deepika Padukone there also presenting the Oscars, and only the third Indian to be presenting at the Oscars. There you can see the picture that was tweeted by the official RRR movie handle of the standing ovation that live performance got at the Oscars, and it was sung live during the ceremony by Rahul Sipliganj and Kala Bhairava. They both performed that song. Lauren Gottlieb also danced there. It was also part of Jimmy Kimmel's introductory, speech into the Oscars. There as well, you had the performers singing to RRR. So that is the big breaking news. India having a big moment at the 95th Academy Awards in Los Angeles with the Oscars, with an Oscar for Naatu Naatu from RRR, and also the Elephant Whisperers winning an Oscar in the Best Documentary Short category. So, and Deepika Padukone, of course, presenting, being one of the announcers at the Oscars. We'll slip into a short break and return with more reactions.
Celebrate.
Debates are essential not just for journalism but for humanity. It ignites our mind, opens it up for counter opinion. To hear all views, opinion of all hues. Which is why the oldest running debate show on Indian news television is not 23 years old, but young at 23.
इस इनिशिएटिव को मैं अभिनंदन करता हूं कि सच को सच के रूप में पेश करने का उन्होंने साहस दिखाया.
So let us begin the big fight.
This is NDTV. No noise, no shouting, and most importantly, no lies. Our lead story tonight. Big international story India is closely watching it.
Naatu Naatu.
News that informs and inspires.
The news with Sonia Singh. Monday to Friday at 8 p.m. Only on NDTV 24/7.
The only side we're on is yours.
In a deeply polarized world, where space for disagreement is shrinking, where take it or leave it defines discourse, we take a step back. A debate has many facets, perhaps no one right answer. Left, right, and center, conversations that get to the core of the debate. Left, Right and Centre with me, Vishnu Shom, 9 p.m. on NDTV 24/7.
Gadgets 360 is here to help you with all your tech needs.
Gadget 360, Gadget Love.
Gadgets 360, Gadgets Love.
You too can get some gadget love with buying guides, expert reviews, and all the latest news on Gadgets 360.
Debates are essential not just for journalism but for humanity. It ignites our mind, opens it up for counter opinion. To hear all views, opinion of all hues. Which is why the oldest running debate show on Indian news television is not 23 years old, but young at 23.
इस इनिशिएटिव को मैं अभिनंदन करता हूं कि सच को सच के रूप में पेश करने का उन्होंने साहस दिखाया।
So let us begin the big fight.
This is NDTV. No noise, no shouting, and most importantly, no lies. Our lead story tonight. Big international story India is closely watching it.
Naatu Naatu, RRR.
News that informs and inspires.
The news with Sonia Singh. Monday to Friday at 8 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7.
The only side we're on is yours.
Welcome back. The big news we're tracking is the Oscars and India's performance at the Oscars this year, and RRR's song Naatu Naatu winning the Oscar in the Best Original Song category, and also an Oscar in the Short Documentary category for Elephant Whisperers. While All That Breathes lost out, but remember again, just to be nominated in the documentary category was absolutely tremendous. So a great day for India at the Oscars. You had actor Deepika Padukone, also one of the presenters there. In fact, she introduced that live performance of Naatu Naatu that took place at the Oscars, on the Oscars stage, and she said, if you don't know Naatu, well, you're going to know it now. And that was when the performance took place on the Oscars stage. It brought the audience to their feet. There was a standing ovation as well, and shortly after that, Oscar glory for Naatu Naatu. Well, to talk more about this, we're joined by Priyanka Sinha Jha, film critic and author. Thank you so much for joining us. Firstly, your reaction to the Oscars that have been won. 2 Oscars, one for Elephant Whisperers, and then the Oscar for Naatu Naatu. Tell us about Naatu Naatu first.
Yes, it's an absolutely glorious moment, one to celebrate. And Naatu Naatu winning in the music category is fantastic. It had it was a very competitive segment against Rihanna and Lady Gaga, as you mentioned earlier. And, it also sort of shows an acceptance of this song and dance format that Indian cinema, Hindi movies and the South Indian movies have followed for the longest time. In America, it's largely musicals, but this is the general format of our cinema. So I think the acceptance of that and acknowledgement, a nod to mainstream cinema as if you will, I think that's fantastic. And I think Naatu Naatu is a really big step forward in that direction.
Right, and what would you say about, the popularity of the film? So let's take a look at that, because it's been quite surprising, I think, to see the kind of, reaction it got abroad. And then, of course, there's been, fantastic lobbying as well. But first and foremost, the reaction that RRR itself got, because it, I think a lot of the Western audiences really appreciated the lot of heart, the love, the emotional roller coaster that the film was.
Absolutely. RRR in India itself was a fantastic success, one of the biggest earners of last year, and to see that globally it's been accepted so well, where people are celebrating it, the entire sort of the storyline, the whole anti-colonial sort of story, which we've seen before in many other movies, but this had a certain flair to it, which was very Indian, with all the heart-wrenching moments, high drama, a lot of emotional quotient, and of course our song and dance, and what we used to call the formula as such. And it's great that a sort of a tweaked, reinvented version of that formula is now exciting the international audience as well. We've been excited about it for the longest, but to see the international audience buying into it, enjoying it, and celebrating it, I think that's absolutely fantastic. And I think more power to our filmmakers for staying the course, for sort of finding their feet with what they know best, but also finding newer audiences all around the world. So it's a fantastic moment for the makers of RRR. SS Rajamouli has been celebrated hugely in Hollywood, and who knows, I mean, we might see him directing a big international film very soon.
That's right. The kind of appreciation we've seen him getting, interact, James Cameron coming up to him, talking about particular scene, saying that shot, this, that. It's been, fascinating to see that, and the way he's been appreciated over there as well. And he's made so many, fantastic films. This one just somehow seemed to click, and the song Naatu Naatu also just seemed to click and go viral, especially thanks to, those dance moves and social media.
Absolutely. I think the choreography, the music, it kind of all comes together in Naatu Naatu, and it's so energetic. It's like, the actors are performing with their full conviction. Not for a moment do you think that, this is not real, and which I think is the biggest victory for cinema, right? Because it's all about creating that illusion which feels so real. And even though it may be very over the top and all of that, right? So I think they've done that fantastically, and I'm like looking forward to bigger things from the team of RRR and all our filmmakers in general, because it gives a huge opportunity to all talented filmmakers from India. And let's not forget the Elephant Whisperers, Guneet Monga and Kartiki Gonzalez. They've done a fantastic job as well. And to get
right, and that will again bring appreciation to documentaries, and within India as well, appreciation for documentaries, which we need more, don't you feel?
Absolutely. And the documentary like Elephant Whisperers is also very timely. It's very topical because we're talking about environment, the coexistence of wildlife and mankind, and and it's something that we have been talking about. Greta Thunberg has been championing the cause of environment and how we need to sort of rethink the way we live and all those things. So very timely, very relevant, very contemporary. So I think it's great that on one hand we also have a documentary win, and then we have our big blockbuster entertainment kind of cinema win one of the biggest honors with a very for music, but which is one of the unique features of our cinema. So I think it's a fantastic moment for us.
Right, that's right. Having that dance element and song element in our films. Again, on Elephant Whisperers, Guneet Monga tweeted, "We just won the first ever Oscar for an Indian production. 2 women did this. I'm still shivering." So that too is something that's really amazing about this Oscar for the Elephant Whisperers.
Absolutely, and as you would know that Oscars is there's a lot of lobbying, as you had mentioned earlier, which is done for getting the film or the documentary attention. Enough people should watch it so that they can vote for it and so on. And it's a complex process. And hats off to these ladies for getting it right and, winning the top honors. So it really is a watershed moment, even for women in the industry, because, women tend to take a little bit of a backseat when it comes to commercial and business side. But Guneet and Kartiki, hats off to you. They've kind of more power to them. They've shown us that, women can win the top honors and all on their own steam. So again,
right. And for Guneet Monga, second Oscar, for a documentary. But coming back to this point of lobbying, etc., we saw Team RRR there in the US, and they were very energetic. They were going on, the actors were going on the shows, on the morning news. They were going on to talk shows. There were screenings happening, very special screenings happening, hosted by big names in Hollywood. And not to say that that is the only thing that led to the, to this Oscar win, but yes, while the film took off, the song took off, it became extremely popular, but they rode that wave and they did it, in a very good professional way. They were there, they showed the energy to really push the film.
Absolutely. The lobbying is important because the academy itself is so vast, right? So your movie or your documentary or, your project needs to be seen by the people to decide whether they like it enough or not for them to vote on it, right? And therefore, if you don't do it, it's even the best movie could perhaps not win. So I think lobbying is an integral part of it, and it's wonderful that now the film industry, the Indian film industry at large and the South Indian film industry is equipped with enough wherewithal, funding, knowing the right people within Hollywood itself to lobby in the right way so that it gets the attention of the Hollywood industry, and a good synergy between Hollywood and the Indian film industry, which is one of the most prolific film industries in the world, and has, stood its ground despite Hollywood making its
Right, I remember
presence
hearing
in India.
about this whole lobbying aspect first time was during Lagan, because you had Amir
During
Khan
Lagan.
there, the team there, and then you first heard about this whole aspect of the whole Oscar sort of and the Academy, and the fact this point that lobbying is so important.
Absolutely. It's, Lagan was when we sort of, as you rightly said, that was the first time we came to know that this is such an important part of the Oscars, because otherwise you just assume that, your film is entered, it's in a particular category, and it will
Right,
somehow,
because there's so many
make its way
members
to
of the
top,
Academy,
right?
all of them may not watch the film, but if it gets enough buzz going around it, they make sure to watch it and then, put in their votes, and that gets the nomination, which is the first thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you have to ensure that they can watch it, because these are all extremely busy people, they're professionals. You have to have enough screenings for them to go and watch it. So all those things, and I think it's a great thing also from a business point of view, because these things are now going to become a part of our system in terms of marketing our films abroad. So, there's no downside to it. I think it's great, and I think more and more filmmakers will be able to, this is like a stepping stone. Like you said, Lagan was one of the first. And now as we see more movies go abroad and win, it will be encouraging for Indian filmmakers, because it will not be like a big question mark, how do we do this kind of a thing. There'll be people who will be there to help them. There'll be a system in place, and that's fantastic, I think.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Priyanka, for joining us this morning on a wonderful morning with two Oscars having been won for India at the Academy Awards, with Naatu Naatu winning that Oscar for Best Original Song, and Elephant Whisperers for the short documentary category. Earlier, we also spoke to Edward Sonnenblick, one of the actors who was there in RRR. He played one of the the British there, and also film critic L. Ravi Chandar, and we spoke to them the moment it was announced that Naatu Naatu had won the Oscar.
It's absolutely a great feeling. I'm not surprised, but I didn't think hearing it would make me feel so emotional right now. It's just a great feeling. I'm just really proud of India. I'm very proud of this film, and MM Keeravaani sir is he's a legend already, and just so happy to see him getting this long overdue recognition globally.
And Edward, you didn't get to dance in the film, of course. You could not, because of course you were playing the other part, but now you will be dancing a lot to Naatu Naatu, right, Edward?
Oh yeah. No, nobody really wants to see me dance. I'm a terrible dancer, but I don't care. I'm gonna be doing this all day today here. And I just want to say too, I'm really happy about the Elephant Whisperers. I'm actually in the mountains of Tamil Nadu right now, where elephants are roaming around shooting for a film, and that also is just a fantastic bit of news. I'm just so happy right now.
That's wonderful to hear. Yes, absolutely. Elephant Whisperers winning that Oscar, amazing for that documentary, and now the big breaking news coming in of Naatu Naatu winning the Oscar for Best Original Song. And Edward, tell us about the success that RRR has seen. While it was only the song that was nominated, at the Oscars, the film has had such an incredible run across the world. So is it something that surprised you? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, we all knew making the film that this was special. I mean, first of all, it's an SS Rajamouli film. Second of all, it's got this budget, and then it's got this amazing cast. So it was clear that this is going to be successful. But no, we didn't imagine this kind of global phenomenon. I mean, in hindsight, yeah, you can see it was kind of a perfect storm of the timing, and I think Hollywood was finally ready and global audiences were finally ready for this kind of emotion and heart in a film.
Roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah, and that's kind of missing in Hollywood. You don't see this kind of just owning the heart. In most films, coming out of Hollywood, there's a lot of kind of self-deprecation and cynicism. But this is something that I think people were really wanting and really ready for, whether they knew it or not.
All right, Ravi Chandar, your reaction to this big breaking news of the Oscar for Naatu Naatu?
Just tell you this, 2008, I was with NDTV celebrating Jai Ho. So I think it's a ho-ho today for India, a double whammy. I don't think this Indian week could have begun on a better note. Winning 2 Oscars, unbelievable. We've tried so much for so many years to get a foot in, and today both the avant-garde and the commercial world of Indian cinema has made its statement. I think very often we have a tongue-in-cheek go at the way Indian songs and dances are done as a part of the narrative of Indian cinema. Today it gets recognition. And Keeravaani, I would be, if anything about Naatu Naatu will be incomplete without recognizing the brilliance of Keeravaani as a music director. Growing in the midst of the likes of Ilayaraja, A.R. Rahman, Keeravaani was such a brilliant genre in himself. He had a niche for himself, and I always thought he was a tad underrated in compared to the more successful ones. So come home with the most prestigious award, Keeravaani. The entire country is looking forward, and I can't believe what is going to happen at Tollywood when he comes back. I think Keeravaani is going to become national. He's going to get more cinema across the globe, across India, definitely from where the bigger money bags will flow. And I think it's also nice to see that 2 stars like Charan and Junior NTR, all that energy with which they're doing the song. I know Junior NTR has a great repute of being a brilliant dancer. Ram Charan joining there, and I think this is a beginning of good news for Ram Charan also, as the family, the stock is due to arrive. So great news. I can't but stop saying India started off the day brilliantly. I'm hoping they'll close the day brilliantly with India having to win a test match on its way to the World Cup finals.
All right, so those were reactions to winning the Oscars by Naatu Naatu, winning in the Best Original Song, and also a documentary, Elephant Whisperers. In fact, Union Minister Anurag Thakur has tweeted about the Elephant Whisperers, and he says, a heartwarming story of love and coexistence in harmony with nature. It's a beautiful story of Bowman, Belly, and baby elephant Raghu set in Tamil Nadu. Thrilled that Elephant Whisperers has bagged the Oscar for the Best Documentary Short Film at the 95th Academy Awards. Congratulations. With that, we'll slip into a short break and return with more. Stay with us.
Celebrate. In a deeply polarized world, where space for disagreement is shrinking, where take it or leave it defines discourse, we take a step back. A debate has many facets, perhaps no one right answer. Left, right and center, conversations that get to the core of the debate. Left, right and center with me, Vishnu Shom, 9 p.m. on NDTV 24/7.
Gadgets 360 is here to help you with all your tech needs.
Gadget 360, Gadget Love.
Gadgets 360, Gadgets Love.
You too can get some gadget love with buying guides, expert reviews, and all the latest news on Gadgets 360.
Debates are essential not just for journalism but for humanity. It ignites our mind, opens it up for counter-opinion. To hear all views, opinion of all hues. Which is why the oldest running debate show on Indian news television is not 23 years old, but young at 23.
इस इनिशिएटिव को मैं अभिनंदन करता हूं कि सच को सच के रूप में पेश करने का उन्होंने साहस दिखाया.
So let us begin the big fight.
Welcome back. The second leg of the budget session begins today with the government asserting that its priority is to pass the finance bill, and opposition planning to raise the issue like action of the central agencies against political rivals of the BJP and allegations against the Adani group. Leader of the opposition in Rajya Sabha and Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge asserted that they want to play a constructive role in making the government accountable and sought a discussion in the House on every burning issue facing the nation. At a meeting held on Sunday, Rajya Sabha Chairman Jagdeep Dhankar sought views of the leaders of various political parties on ways to curb disruptions in the House. Opposition members raised the issue of alleged misuse of central agencies against non-BJP governments and the move to appoint Mr. Dhankar's personal staff on parliamentary committees. The opposition parties will meet this morning as well. Let's go across to Arvind for more. And Arvind, so tell us more about the opposition getting set to counter the government and take on the government over various issues, including the targeting of opposition party leaders by the central agencies.
Gaji, the second leg of the budget session will commence today with the government focusing to pass the finance bill and also the discussion on demands of grants and also several other legislations that the government is planning to introduce in this second leg of the budget session, whereas the opposition parties are trying to corner the government over alleged misuse of central agencies. And what we are being told is that at around 10 a.m. there will be this joint meeting of the opposition parties at the office of Mallikarjun Kharge, who is the leader of opposition in Rajya Sabha, wherein the opposition parties will decide a joint strategy to corner the government. So today what we are being told is that Aam Aadmi Party and BRS, both these parties are clear that they want to raise the issue of alleged misuse of central agencies. Delhi former Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia has been arrested by CBI and ED, and also Kavita, the BRS leader, has been summoned by Enforcement Directorate, and that's why both these parties are trying to raise this issue in the both the houses of the parliament. So we have to wait and watch at the 10 a.m. meeting what will be the decision of the opposition parties, whether all opposition parties will come together to raise this issue. Congress-led, like-minded opposition parties will be raising other issues, and the Aam Aadmi Party and BRS will be staging protests over the alleged misuse of central agencies.
All right. Thanks so much, Arvind, for joining us. With that, stay on for the next news as well. And today, the Supreme Court will be hearing the plea to legalize same-sex marriages. In a court filing on Sunday, the centre once again opposed same-sex marriages, sticking to its stance that same-sex marriage is not compatible with the concept of an Indian family unit, which it said consists of a husband, a wife and children, which necessarily presupposes a biological man as husband and a biological woman as wife. The centre argued that despite the decriminalization of Section 377, the petitioners cannot claim a fundamental right for same-sex marriage. It said living together as partners and having sexual relations is not comparable with the Indian family unit concept. Well, let's go back to Arvind for more on this. And Arvind, so the centre there urging the court to reject these challenges or these pleas regarding same-sex marriages.
Yeah, Gargi, Centre has for the first time filed affidavit in Supreme Court taking a stand on this issue. There have been several petitions that have been filed across various high courts seeking recognition of same-sex marriage. And in the last hearing, Chief Justice of India, Justice D.Y. Chandrabose, had asked all the petitions to be transferred to Supreme Court so that Supreme Court can hear this matter itself. So Centre has filed a detailed affidavit wherein Centre has said that the marriage notion per se has to be between a biological man and a biological woman, and the same-sex marriage they have on several grounds they have opposed the recognition of same-sex marriage, where then they have said that though it has been decriminalized, but it cannot be recognized as marriage. That seems to be the stand of the Centre. And Centre has also said that there cannot be judicial intervention in this particular case. Whatever, there has to be some changes in the personal laws that can be done only by the parliament. The legislation alone can intervene and do it. There cannot be any judicial intervention in this particular case, and that's why they have asked the Supreme Court not to enter into this domain. They have also asked the Supreme Court to dismiss all the petitions. So the matter will be heard again today by Supreme Court. We'll get to know what will be the order of the Supreme Court today.
All right. Thanks so much, Arvind, for joining us with those details. The first time after the 15-month-long agitation, Punjab farmers are set to protest in the national capital again. Thousands of farmers are set to first march to Parliament demanding legal status for MSP before holding a sit-in protest at Delhi's Jantar Mantar. Over 5 farmer unions, including the Samyukt Kisan Morcha, have entered Delhi with a 5-point agenda that includes fixing the minimum support price with assured markets for all crops and the resolution of the long-standing water dispute between Punjab and Haryana. So farmers are back in the national capital with several demands there, and this comes for the first time after that 15-month-long agitation that farmers from Punjab, Haryana had held against the 3 farm laws that were eventually rolled back. ahead of the Punjab elections, and now farmers back asking for a guarantee on MSP. They have a 5-point agenda which includes the fixing MSP with assured markets for all crops. Well, let's go across to Vedanta for more on this. So Vedanta, again, farmers back with a list of demands.
That's right, Gargi. So after 15-month-long agitation, farmers are back in the national capital. And remember, this coincides with the second leg of the budget session that begins in the parliament today. So there are a list of demands that farmers from Punjab have come in with. The primary among them, of course, is legally mandated MSP or a law for MSP, as they've been demanding in the past couple of months. So 5 farmer organizations will be coming to Delhi. This includes, of course, the Sanyukt Kisan Morcha as well, which is an umbrella organization under which close to 40 farmer organizations and labor unions come. And they will be marching from the Bangla Sahib Gurdwara in the national capital to the parliament. The Delhi police so far, the Delhi police will not be allowing them to cross barricades. It's heavily barricaded today as well. And after that, the farmers will be organizing a sit-in protest today at Jantar Mantar in Delhi. So as I said, they have a 5-point agenda. And among them is a law for MSP or legally mandated enforcement of minimum support price. Other than that, they're also demanding, as you rightly pointed out, assured markets for all crops, including fruits and vegetables. They're also demanding, the fact that all the farmers who were arrested during the farmers' protests, they should be let out, they should be set free, and they're also demanding total debt waiver for farmers. So that is something that's important as well. They will be submitting a memorandum to the Prime Minister's office. That's what the farmers' unions have told us. And after that, they will be holding a sit-in protest today at Jantar Mantar. In fact, thousands of farmers are expected to gather at the Bangla Sahib Gurdwara, from where they'll begin their protest march to the parliament. Gargi.
All right. Thanks so much, Vedanta, for joining us there with the latest. News now from Rajasthan, where the Aam Aadmi Party entered poll-bound state with a rally in the heart of Jaipur city. The Tiranga rally, led by Arvind Kejriwal and Bhagwant Mann, is the AAP eyeing a political space that has been otherwise bipolar. Rajasthan has historically been a fight between BJP and Congress, but with a leadership tussle in the Congress, that's Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot versus Sachin Pilot, and in the BJP, where it's Vasundhara Raje versus the rest, the Aam Aadmi Party hopes to woo voters who could be disenchanted with both parties. They're also planning a similar rally in Bhopal.
13 मार्च को जयपुर में हमारे नेता माननीय अरविंद केजरीवाल जी और पंजाब के मुख्यमंत्री माननीय भगवंत मान जी तिरंगा यात्रा में शामिल होने के लिए आ रहे हैं। तिरंगा यात्रा दोपहर 12 बजे सांगानेरी गेट बापू बाजार से शुरू होगी। इस तिरंगा यात्रा को सफल बनाने के लिए आप सबकी सहयोग की जरूरत है। आप सभी अपने दोस्तों के साथ, अपने जान पहचान के सभी लोगों के साथ इस तिरंगा यात्रा में जरूर शामिल होइए। तिरंगा यात्रा इस देश को नंबर 1 बनाने के लिए और राजस्थान को नंबर 1 बनाने के लिए अभियान है। इस अभियान के माध्यम से हम हर देश के हर कोने में एक सकारात्मक राजनीति से जोड़ना चाहते हैं, अरविंद केजरीवाल जी की राजनीति से जोड़ना चाहते हैं और इस देश में, इस राज्य में अच्छे स्कूल और अच्छे अस्पताल बनाने की राजनीति की शुरुआत करना चाहते हैं।
Some good news coming from Kochi, where the fumes have finally been doused from the waste site. So after 10 days, finally the district collector has announced that the toxic smoke has finally been doused. This is the Brahmapuram dump yard. Remember, it caught fire 10 days ago. The fire was contained on the second day, but since then the residual fires and the smoke continued for 10 days, and finally after a full 10 days the issue has been handled, and the smoking there has stopped. 300 firefighters worked for 10 days to actually put out that smoke that was emanating, toxic smoke that led to many residents in the nearby areas fleeing. It impacted places in a 15-kilometer radius from the dump yard. News now from Karnataka, and with strong anti-incumbency fueled by a wave of corruption allegations, the BJP is banking on Prime Minister Modi's popularity in the hope of winning votes in the Mandya region, which is the stronghold of the JDS. Prime Minister laid the foundation stones for projects worth around 16,000 crores in Mandya and Hubli-Dharwad districts.
A show of strength by people of Mandya as Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in the Vokkaliga heartland and a bastion of the JDS by former Prime Minister H.D. Deve Gowda. A strong anti-incumbency fueled by a wave of corruption allegations in Karnataka. The BJP is now banking on Prime Minister Modi's popularity to win votes in Mandya, the region which has been the stronghold of its rival Janata Dal Secular. This was Prime Minister's sixth visit to the election-bound state in 2 months. In 2018, the BJP did exceptionally well in coastal Karnataka and the Mumbai-Karnataka regions. However, it fell short of a clear majority in parts of Old Mysuru region and the Hyderabad-Karnataka region. To fight off the anti-incumbency, the BJP has reworked their poll strategies by starting off their election campaign from the weakest spot. The BJP flagged off the Vijay Sankalpa Yatra, the first among the 4 planned yatras from the 4 corners of the state, from the Chamarajanagar assembly seat. And now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi held his second roadshow in Mandya, which has 7 constituencies ahead of 2023 elections.
NH 275.
In his speech after the inauguration, the Prime Minister took a dig at the Congress, saying the grand old party is busy digging his grave, clearly making the election about himself.
कांग्रेस मोदी की कब्र खोदने का सपना देख रही है। कांग्रेस मोदी की कब्र खोदने में बिजी है और मोदी बेंगलुरु मैसूरू एक्सप्रेस वे बनाने में बिजी है। कांग्रेस मोदी की कब्र खोदने में व्यस्त है और मोदी गरीब का जीवन आसान बनाने में व्यस्त है। मोदी की कब्र खोदने का सपना देख रहे कांग्रेसियों को पता नहीं है कि देश की करोड़ों माताओं बहनों बेटियां, देश के लोगों का आशीर्वाद मोदी का सबसे बड़ा सुरक्षा कवच है।
A big infrastructure push in the old Mysuru region was the main agenda of Prime Minister's visit to Mandya, laying the foundation stones of projects worth rupees 16,000 crores in Mandya and Hubli-Dharwad districts. Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the Vokkaliga heartland, the bastion of the JDS, which won in fact in 2018 all the 7 seats, but 2019, especially after one particular person of the JDS, Narayan Gowda, defected to the BJP could open one account. On that hopes, we see Prime Minister Narendra Modi, for the first time in 41 years, a Prime Minister has made a visit to Mandya district. In fact, big infrastructure push. That is where we are reporting from. The Bengaluru-Mysuru Expressway, multiple road developmental projects in Kushalnagar as a Kushalnagar highway, and also in Dharwad by opening the IIT as well. In Mandya with Govind Srija for NDTV.
The Prime Minister also made statements in connection with Rahul Gandhi's criticism of the BJP government's policies during his recent visit to the UK.
वो भगवान बसवेश्वर, लंदन की धरती पर उनकी मूर्ति, लेकिन ये दुर्भाग्य है कि लंदन में ही भारत के लोकतंत्र पर सवाल उठाने का काम किया गया। कुछ लोग भारत के लोकतंत्र को लगातार कटघरे में खड़ा कर रहे हैं। ऐसे लोग भगवान बसवेश्वर का अपमान कर रहे हैं। ऐसे लोग कर्नाटका के लोगों का, भारत की महान परंपरा का, भारत के 130 करोड़ जागरूक नागरिकों का अपमान कर रहे हैं।
Cricket news now, and the fourth day in Ahmedabad was all about Virat Kohli's magnificent 186. His knock helped India take a 91-run lead. Virat Kohli batted for 520 minutes for his classic. Here's how India dominated the fourth day.
It was a day of partnerships. India had 6 half-century stands. All the top 6 pairs added 50 runs and more. Of course, there was a very special one between Virat Kohli and Akshar Patel that stitched together 162 runs. The Australians had to bowl 178.5 overs to bowl India out.
So India all out from the match.
The standout performers once again their spinners Nathan Lyon and Todd Murphy. Murphy ended the biggest resistance from India, Virat Kohli picking 3 for 113. Our lion-hearted Nathan Lyon kept India under control for large periods and had 3 for 151.
Who takes the catch on the boundary would get big.
Akshar Patel joined Kohli in the afternoon and upped the ante. He went on to score his third half-century of the series in a trademark belligerent fashion. He has not been great with the ball in this series, but arguably one of India's best batsmen against Australia. Akshar scored 79. The day belonged to Virat Kohli and his innings of concentration, application and discipline against his favourite opposition, Australia. Not a single hit to the fence in the first session of play on Sunday. The former Indian captain got to his 28th century in Test cricket, a landmark he had waited for 3.5 years. This was also his 75th international 100. There was no stopping Kohli on Sunday. He was in the mood for a marathon. Kohli changed gears after his 100, manipulated the field like limited overs cricket and brought up 150. Virat Kohli batted for over 15 hours for his landmark 186, which is also the second longest test innings of his career.
It's a tease for the fielders.
Well, that time for a break. Coming up on the other side, we look at the impact of the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank. Stay with us.
Celebrate.
This is NDTV. No noise, no shouting, and most importantly, no lies. Our lead story tonight. Big international story. India is closely watching it.
Naatu Naatu, RRR.
News that informs and inspires.
The news with Sonia Singh. Monday to Friday at 8 p.m. Only on NDTV 24/7.
The only side we're on is yours.
In a deeply polarized world, where space for disagreement is shrinking, where take it or leave it defines discourse, we take a step back. A debate has many facets, perhaps no one right answer. Left, right and center, conversations that get to the core of the debate. Left, right and center with me, Vishnu Shom, 9 p.m. on NDTV 24/7.
Gadgets 360 is here to help you with all your tech needs.
Gadget 360, Gadget Love.
Gadgets 360, Gadgets Love.
You too can get some gadget love with buying guides, expert reviews, and all the latest news on Gadgets 360.
Debates are essential not just for journalism but for humanity. It ignites our mind, opens it up for counter-opinion. To hear all views, opinion of all hues. Which is why the oldest running debate show on Indian news television is not 23 years old, but young at 23.
इस इनिशिएटिव को मैं अभिनंदन करता हूं कि सच को सच के रूप में पेश करने का उन्होंने साहस दिखाया.
So let us begin the big fight.
This is NDTV. No noise, no shouting, and most importantly, no lies. Our lead story tonight. big international story India is closely watching. And
Naatu Naatu, RRR.
news that informs and inspires.
The news with Sonia Singh, Monday to Friday at 8 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7.
The only side we're on is yours.
In a deeply polarized world, where space for disagreement is shrinking, where take it or leave it defines discourse, we take a step back. A debate has many facets, perhaps no one right answer. Left, right and center, conversations that get to the core of the debate. Left, right and center with me, Vishnu Shom, 9 p.m. on NDTV 24/7.
Gadgets 360 is here to help you with all your tech needs.
Gadget 360, Gadget Love.
Gadgets 360, Gadgets Love.
You too can get some gadget love with buying guides, expert reviews, and all the latest news on Gadgets 360.
Debates are essential not just for journalism but for humanity. It ignites our mind, opens it up for counter opinion. To hear all views, opinion of all hues. Which is why the oldest running debate show on Indian news television is not 23 years old, but young at 23.
इस इनिशिएटिव को मैं अभिनंदन करता हूं कि सच को सच के रूप में पेश करने का उन्होंने साहस दिखाया।
Welcome back. The collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank, which was a key lender to U.S. startups since the 1980s, has also resulted in fears of the impact on daily cash needs of Indian firms. This as several Indian firms have deposits in the bank and received investments from it too. Now, U.S. President Joe Biden tweeted on this, saying that at my direction, Secretary Yellen and my National Economic Council director worked with banking regulators to address problems at Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. Remember, two banks have now failed. The president also saying, I'm pleased they reached a solution that protects workers, small businesses, taxpayers and our financial system. And now Ruchit Garg, the CEO of Harvesting Farmer Network, reacted to the developments.
Ruchit Garg, thanks very much for joining us on the broadcast. And let me first ask you, by setting the record straight, do you have any exposure to the bank, to the Silicon Valley Bank? Do you have any investments from the bank, or do you have any deposits stuck in that bank currently?
Yes, we do. Actually, we have been banking across several startups for over 10 years with Silicon Valley Bank. We have deposits in the bank, which is right now stuck. And wires are not getting out. Thankfully for us, situation is a little bit better because most of our operations right now is in India, and just by sheer planning and luck, we have a lot of money already made as an FDI to Indian entity. We have, but there's still large portion of money sitting in SVB Bank in US right now.
So are you saying that there's no impact that you're currently seeing, at least in your company, but are you hearing of any cash crunch in any other startups?
No, so definitely, as far as HFN is concerned, there is no short-term and mid-term implication for us because we have planned it that way. But there are multiple startups who are stuck with the money, especially the ones who are operating outside from the US itself. Because if a startup is working out of India, I'm pretty sure they have a lot of funds in Indian banks as well. So this problem is mostly or magnified if you have one bank that is SVB and you are based out of Silicon Valley.
Right, of course, and in fact 50% of US venture-backed tech and life sciences companies banked with the SVB according to the Silicon Valley Bank's own website. So that impact will really be felt by the US tech startups. But if we talk about Indian startups, several reports say that 20, 30 and several Indian startups have exposure to the Silicon Valley Bank. You being an entrepreneur yourself, do you understand any such impact on Indian startups, if not your own firm, but in other firms that might have exposure? What all could the risks be for such firms who have exposure to the Silicon Valley Bank?
So I think for Indian startups, it would be minimal impact right away from the deposits. However, having said that, this SVB precedent is sort of shaking the market right now. I'm also hearing that FDIC right now is at First Republic Bank trying to figure out, how they don't get onto the SVB route. So it seems to be snowballing in some way. But for short term, if the startup in India have some deposits in US and some in India, they should be fine. The negative impact I could see is, the investment which is already getting a little tight for startups all across the globe may get further tighter. But short term, very short term, I don't think there's an issue for Indian startups who are operating out of India.
Right. And since you said that the impact on Indian startups could be minimal, so as we just get your wrapping comments on this, you must have also gone through those reports that say that several startups are struggling for their daily expenses. Several startups are struggling to meet their payroll requirements as well. So do you think there's some sort of panic that's being created in terms of the impact on Indian startups while the actual impact is not too much?
So actually, those 1,000 company number is mostly US centric companies.
Right.
And I know, unfortunately, if somebody doesn't buy the bank in next 24 hours, which is likely to happen, there may be mass layoff in Silicon Valley and the US tech companies. Again, Indian companies are a little bit shielded because if the operations are here, most of the money I'm assuming is here. At least they don't have a short-term crunch. But coming back to, the fear, yes, this is all hysterical. I mean, what it takes is somebody or government just say that, hey, we guarantee you the money and everything itself will almost automatically figure it out. It's just the people getting scared that my money will get stuck and it is snowballing everything else. So whether it is Elon Musk raising hand saying, hey, I'm buying SVB or somebody else, that's what it needs. Somebody needs to say your money is safe. I'm buying it out, take a breath. That's pretty much it.
Celebrates.
This is NDTV. No noise, no shouting, and most importantly, no lies. Our lead story tonight. Big international story India is closely watching.
Naatu Naatu.
News that informs and inspires.
The news with Sonia Singh. Monday to Friday at 8 p.m. Only on NDTV 24/7.
The only side we're on is yours.
In a deeply polarized world, where space for disagreement is shrinking, where take it or leave it defines discourse, we take a step back. A debate has many facets, perhaps no one right answer. Left, right and center, conversations that get to the core of the debate. Left, right and center with me, Vishnu Shom, 9 p.m. on NDTV 24/7.
Gadgets 360 is here to help you with all your tech needs.
Gadget 360, Gadget Love.
Gadgets 360, Gadgets Love.
You too can get some gadget love with buying guides, expert reviews, and all the latest news on Gadgets 360.
Debates are essential not just for journalism but for humanity. It ignites our mind, opens it up for counter-opinion. To hear all views, opinion of all hues. Which is why the oldest running debate show on Indian news television is not 23 years old, but young at 23.
इस इनिशिएटिव को मैं अभिनंदन करता हूं कि सच को सच के रूप में पेश करने का उन्होंने साहस दिखाया.
So let us begin the big fight.
This is NDTV. No noise, no shouting, and most importantly, no lies. Our lead story tonight. Big international story India is closely watching.
Naatu Naatu.
News that informs and inspires.
The news with Sonia Singh. Monday to Friday at 8 p.m. Only on NDTV 24/7.
The only side we're on is yours.
In a deeply polarized world, where space for disagreement is shrinking, where take it or leave it defines discourse, we take a step back. A debate has many facets, perhaps no one right answer. Left, right and center. Conversations that get to the core of the debate. Left, right and center with me, Vishnu Shom, 9 p.m. on NDTV 24/7.
Gadgets 360 is here to help you with all your tech needs.
Gadget 360, Gadget Love.
Gadgets 360, Gadgets Love.
You too can get some gadget love with buying guides, expert reviews, and all the latest news on Gadgets 360.
Debates are essential not just for journalism but for humanity. It ignites our mind, opens it up for counter opinion. To hear all views, opinion of all hues.
Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV. I'm Gargi Rawat. Let's take a look at the headlines we're tracking at this hour. Double Oscar glory for India at the Academy Awards. The Elephant Whisperers bags an Oscar for Best Documentary Short Film, while Naatu Naatu wins the Oscar for Best Original Song. The second part of the budget session begins today. Opposition meet at Kharge's office before the session. The BRS notices in both houses over the misuse of central agencies. The same-sex marriage case in the Supreme Court today. The centre opposes legalizing same-sex marriage, says marriage a union between opposite sexes. Punjab farmers to protest in Delhi again, march to Parliament today and sit-in at Jantar Mantar. MSP and debt waiver is among the top farmer demands. And ahead of crucial state elections later this year, the BJP's Vijay Sankalp Yatra rolls on. The Prime Minister makes his 6th visit to Karnataka in 2 months. Well, let's get you all the news from the Oscars, where India ruled at the 95th Academy Awards with 2 massive wins. Naatu Naatu from SS Rajamouli's RRR won Best Original Song, and Kartiki Gonzalez, The Elephant Whisperers, won Best Documentary Short Subject. A third nominee, Shaunak Sen's All That Breathes, missed out on the Oscar for Best Documentary Feature Film. So even just being nominated, being shortlisted is absolutely fantastic. Actor Deepika Padukone was also at the Oscars as a presenter. She's the 3rd Indian star to present at the Oscars after Persis Khambata and Priyanka Chopra. In fact, she announced the performance of Naatu Naatu on the Oscars stage. She says, if you've not heard of Naatu, well, you sure will now. And she announced the Naatu Naatu performance that took place, and it's shortly after that the Oscar 2 was announced. Now, the New York Times, the way they described it, said Naatu Naatu, the rollicking dance hit from Indian blockbuster RRR, won the Oscar for Best Original Song, beating out 2 songs featuring American pop mega stars. Naatu Naatu defeated Rihanna and Lady Gaga to go on and win the Oscar. Both the mega stars were also nominated for their songs. MM Keeravaani, the song's composer, accepting the Oscar on stage. In fact, he said, I grew up listening to the Carpenters, and now here I am with the Oscars, singing Top of the World, but with lyrics about his joy at winning the award. So there you can see that visual of them accepting the Oscar and saying that they're on top of the world. So a great showing for India at the Oscars with the 2 Oscar awards. Didn't get in that 3rd category, but again, as we said, it's been amazing just to be nominated as well at the Oscars, and Shaunak Sen's All That Breathes was nominated. Well, Arun joins us for more on this. And Arun, so it's been absolutely fabulous. This India's showing at the Oscars. The Prime Minister also tweeted, ministers are tweeting, and of course, congratulations all around. And, this really caps off the success that RRR has had, as well as the success and, popularity of Naatu Naatu.
Of course, we saw that last time with Jai Ho, Gargi, and but it was not for an Indian film, it was for Slumdog Millionaire. But here we had an Indian nomination this year, and not only 1 but 3 nominations, which was exceptional and was happening for the first time. It was unprecedented, and we got this nomination Of course, almost after 2 decades, this is after Lagan, and we had RRR. In the nominations, we have, two victories at the Oscars. And while accepting the award, MM Keeravaani, who has composed the song beautifully, he sang the melody of the 70s hit Top of the World, and he said, I grew up listening to the Carpenters, and now I am here with the Oscars. And he also expressed that he had only one wish, that RRR has to win and must put me on the top of the world. Those are his words, and he's definitely on top of the world, with Naatu Naatu taking the global stage by storm, and at the same time putting, the Telugu language or cinema on the world map. Rahul Sapliganj and Kala Bhairav, who were the original singers of the Telugu version, performed live, and we had Ram Charan Jr., NTR, SS Rajamouli talking to the press about how their the story, song, and the kind of instruments used has won appreciation, not at one but several different award functions. This is their third big global award. This is after Critics Award, and then we also had we have Oscars today and Golden Globe, of course. So 3 big global achievements with Naatu Naatu, Gargi.
That's right. Thanks so much, Arun, for joining us. And earlier we also spoke to film critic and author Priyanka Sinha Jha on the Oscars.
Yes, it's an absolutely glorious moment, one to celebrate. And Naatu Naatu winning in the music category is fantastic. It had it was a very competitive segment against Rihanna and Lady Gaga, as you mentioned earlier. And, it also sort of shows an acceptance of this song and dance format that Indian cinema, Hindi movies and the South Indian movies have followed for the longest time. In America, it's largely musicals, but this is the general format of our cinema. So I think the acceptance of that and acknowledgement, a nod to mainstream cinema as if you will, I think that's fantastic. And I think Naatu Naatu is a really big step forward in that direction. I think the choreography, the music, it kind of all comes together in Naatu Naatu, and it's so energetic. It's the actors are performing with their full conviction. Not for a moment do you think that, this is not real, and which I think is the biggest victory for cinema, right? Because it's all about creating that illusion which feels so real. And even though it may be very over the top and all of that, right? So I think they've done that fantastically, and I'm looking forward to bigger things from the team of RRR and all our filmmakers in general, because it gives a huge opportunity to all talented filmmakers from India. And let's not forget the Elephant Whisperers, Guneet Monga and Kartiki Gonzalez. They've done a fantastic job as well. And
and that will again bring appreciation to documentaries, and within India as well, appreciation for documentaries, which we need more, don't you feel?
Absolutely. And the documentary like Elephant Whisperers is also very timely. It's very topical because we're talking about environment, the coexistence of wildlife and mankind, and it's something that we have been talking about. Greta Thunberg has been championing the cause of environment and how we need to sort of rethink the way we live and all those things. So very timely, very relevant, very contemporary. So I think it's great that on one hand we also have a documentary win, and then we have our big blockbuster entertainment kind of cinema win one of the biggest honors with a very for music, but which is one of the unique features of our cinema. So I think it's a fantastic moment for us.